Good morning, beloveds. We are closing in on the end of the month of joy in the 365 Science of Mind. And today, the idea of joy is kind of hard. The world has been insane for the last 3 months. Well, honestly, the world's always crazy. But it's been extra for the last 3 months. And the last couple of days have been really hard. So I have a spiritual responsibility to continue the month of joy. This is the project that I started out with. And I'm going to use the words of Ernest Holmes as inspiration, but I am going to acknowledge that today, yeah, there are no words. There are no words. But the problem is we better find them, and we better find them fast, and we better find a way to live together. Okay, all right. So that's where I'm at, and now I'm going to move on into my spiritual responsibility. I'm learning that one of the challenges of a pastor or a minister or whatever you want to call this job title is sometimes you have to hold two conflicting ideas and two conflicting emotions at the same time, and you still have to do your job. And so I am going to do my job. We are almost finished with the month of joy. And so let's see what inspiration he has for us today. We're using a different book today. Our quote is John 16:24. Ask and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. Okay. I know I've heard the ask and you shall receive. I have not heard the rest of that quote. This has been an this reading has been an education in Bible quotes. So, okay. Nothing in our thought about God, Rita. This is not going to work, baby girl. You can't paw the book. Come on. Come on. My co-minister has a thought today. Okay. Nothing in our thought about God should produce sadness or depression. Rather, it should do quite the reverse. Because our faith in and love of God should give us such a confidence and such a sense of security that we should indeed be able to say, joy to the world, the Lord has come. We must come to realize that God is not in some far off place, but instead that God is an inward, intimate presence closer to us than our very breath. God is not, nor can ever be separated from us, but too often we separate ourselves from God. I now affirm that there is nothing in me that can doubt this presence or limit the power of good in my life. There is nothing in me that can separate me from the love of God, and I accept the joy of living in the very midst of it. The divine presence leads me on the pathway of peace. It directs my thoughts, my words, and my actions into constructive channels of self-expression. It unites me with others in love, in kindness, and in consideration. Today, I accept this action gratefully and realize that it brings into my experience everything necessary for my joy and happiness. I affirm for others that which I accept for myself. Okay. Oh, we have 2 more days. Ooh, and I now know that June is creativity. Okay. So he starts off by saying, nothing in our thought about God should produce sadness or depression, which is a pretty bold statement when you consider some of the religions around the world and their ideas about God. Ernest persists in telling us that God is love. And so if God is love, then nothing about God should produce sadness or depression. So if our thoughts about God are producing sadness or depression, then we need to go back and re-examine our idea of God. Because most likely we are limiting God. We are spirits having a human experience. We are having a limited experience. I mean, when you look at humans in the visible spectrum, there's a whole lot going on around us that we are completely oblivious to it because we cannot see it, because we cannot hear it, because it is out of our sensing range. So I encourage you to go back, if thoughts about God produce sadness or depression, and re-examine what you are thinking about God. God is love. God is good. What contemporary religion or religions, any religions, have told us about God are not the whole picture. I'm not going to say that they are wrong, but I'm going to tell you that they are not the whole picture. I'm going to let you make your own own decision about what is right and wrong about your thoughts about God. It should do quite the reverse, because our faith in and love of God should give us such confidence and such a sense of security that we should indeed be able to say, joy to the world. Okay, so if we can focus on the idea of God as love, we can move on. We must come to realize that God is not in some far off place, but instead that God is an inward, intimate presence closer to us than breath. We tend to think of, at least in the Western Christian idea of God, we tend to think of God as a man sitting in a throne in the sky. And that's not the truth that Ernest teaches. The truth that Ernest teaches is that you are made of God's stuff. That which God is what flows through you. And I apologize for the lawn equipment going on outside my house. So, if you are made of God's stuff, if what God is flowing through you, then you cannot be separated from God. But He does put firmly into our wheelhouse, God is not, nor can ever be separated from us, but too often we separate ourselves from God. And that is when we have beliefs about that man in the sky. We believe that God couldn't love us, when the truth is that God can only love us, because we cannot, there's nothing outside of God. So, I now affirm that there is nothing in me that can doubt this presence or limit the power of good in my life. So that is an affirmation that when you are struggling and when thoughts of God are producing sadness or depression, I now affirm that there is nothing in me that can doubt this presence or limit the power of good in my life. Because unfortunately that is our power. We can limit our own good. There is nothing in me that can separate me from the love of God, and I accept the joy of living in the very midst of it. Think of the happiness, think of the power, think of the bliss created by the very idea that you live in the midst of it. So when you are having those moments, that's it. It's the third paragraph of today that I would encourage you to go back and reread to yourself over and over and over again until you feel it. The divine presence leads me on the pathway of peace. The divine presence is love. If we focus on love, we can have peace. If we focus on love of ourselves, if we focus on love of one another, if we focus on all of this, then we have that divine pathway in front of us. It is the path of love. Pardon me, cats. It directs my thoughts, my actions, my words into constructive channels of self-expression. When we act out of love, we can do no wrong. It unites me with others in love, in kindness, and in consideration. The divine pathway of love is the path to peace. So, when we allow love to guide our actions, our words, when we allow ourselves to act in kindness and in consideration, it unites us all in love. Today, I accept this action gratefully and realize that it brings into my experience everything necessary for my joy and happiness. And the last line is kind of the key. I affirm for others that which I accept for myself. And right now, I'm going to say that's kind of what we need to do. Not kind of, it is what we need to do. Because the truth is we all want love. The truth is we all want peace. The truth is we all want to be happy. The truth is we all want to be joyful. So if I accept it for myself, it is my right and my responsibility and my privilege to accept it for you. So as we move through today and into what is going to be our new normal, because there is no going back, then that is our responsibility to accept love, to give love, to be love, and to accept that not only for ourselves but for each other, to look into the eyes of other sentient beings and see God looking back at us. And I say sentient beings because it's not even easy to do with people, but other living beings, the animals and the plants and the trees and the flowers, to look at them and see God looking back at us, and to see God looking back at us in love and in joy. All right. I'm going to move on into my day. I am going to let you know that I will not be on tomorrow at 9 a.m. because we are doing an event with the Montgomery Food Bank. So the event is from 8 to 10 up at Oak Ridge High School. And the people who are volunteering will be there from 7 to 11, which probably puts me back here around noon, although I do need to run an errand, ironically, for the cats. So I will do it as soon as I get home. So if you're getting up for this at 9 a.m., please don't. Feel free to come in and watch, sleep in, or come help us volunteer. Please, if you're interested in that, definitely email the Creative Life Spiritual Center, and we will move on from there. It's been all over this Facebook page, so that is where I will be tomorrow morning. I know Reverend David will be on later today. I would love to tell you what time He says 5 o'clock, and then he shows up when he shows up. So I'm going to pull a David tomorrow and be on when I show up. It happens. I know I'm going to miss the squirrels in the park tomorrow. So be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. Be compassionate with yourself today. Do something loving, kind, and compassionate for yourself today. Open your windows, get some fresh air, get some movement. Find some joy. Please find some joy today. And we will work together to express that joy and express that love and create a world that works for everybody. That is our motto in CSL and in CLC. So, all right, beloveds, I'm going to move on into my day. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you sometime tomorrow. Bye, beloveds.